Hello and welcome to Firearm Freedom. This is going to be another upgrades video. In today's upgrades video, we are taking a look at the WASR-10 V2. And quickly guys, before we get this video started, I just wanted to let all of you know the ways that you can support everything that I do here on the Firearm Freedom channel. First, you can head down to the description below and check out the Firearm Freedom merchandise store. Anything that you purchase on the merchandise store greatly supports what I do here on the channel. And if merchandise is not for you, then you can simply check out the Firearm Freedom Subscribe Star account. There's not really any extra content on the Subscribe Star account, but it gives you guys a way to donate even as little as $1 a month to the channel. If donating to the channel is not something that you're looking to do, then you can just simply watch these videos. Head down to the comment section and comment down below. Let me know what you think of this video, what I can improve on, what I can do better next time, and absolutely hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, share the video around with your friends. All of that stuff really does help defeat the YouTube algorithms that are constantly pushing down gun content here on the platform. If you didn't already see the first impressions video on this WASR-10 V2, I will throw the card up in the right-hand corner of your screen right now, and you guys can check that out. This upgrades video came very quickly because I actually ended up getting all of these accessories even before I bought the WASR-10 V2. I knew after looking at that rifle and kind of handling it in the gun shop that I work at that god-awful plastic furniture that came with it from the factory had to go as soon as possible. In order to show you guys what the rifle is going to look like as soon as you get it out of the box, I wanted to do that first impressions video with absolutely no modifications done. And guys, I gotta tell you, and I did mention this in the first impressions video, it was painful to have to bring this rifle to the range when I had all this stuff sitting at home and all I wanted to do was just scrap that plastic furniture the moment that I got it home. But the YouTube videos had to prevail because I just had to do that first impressions video. The moment that I got it home from that first impressions video, the plastic furniture came off and this new furniture went on. But before we touch on this new furniture, I want to talk briefly about swapping out that plastic furniture. Oh my god, was that a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be. Without fail, generally, when you're making some modifications to your AK, you may have to do some fitting or filing or just kind of a little bit of swearing and breaking out a larger hammer in order to get this stuff to fit. It's just the way that it goes, especially with a foreign-made AK. I knew, especially with this being a Romanian WASR, that I was going to come across that. However, I didn't think I would come across it in the place that I did. The handguards came off pretty much with ease. There wasn't really a big deal. They just popped right out. And to be honest with you, they were almost melted after the first range day. So again, they came off pretty easy. That wasn't the issue. And of course, the pistol grip came off with just a single screw that took just a few seconds and that popped right off. What I assumed would be one of the easiest things to take off was probably the most frustrating, and that was the plastic stock. What you guys are seeing here are the skeletal remains of that horrendously bad plastic stock that must have been fused by Thor himself into the receiver of this gun. So what you can see here is the remains of the part that was actually inside the receiver. And essentially what happened, and I will try to explain to the best of my ability, showing you guys this gunsmith job that was done with a Dremel, a saw, and a drill in the crevices of my armory here as I was hitting on this AK with a larger hammer making ooga booga noises. You can see that I removed the screws where the tang is coming out of the receiver, and I began to just kind of slightly hammer on it a little bit to see if the stock would come loose. It was in there. This thing was not moving, not budging, not even moving by a centimeter out of the receiver itself. So then I grabbed a flathead and just tried to slowly bash out this stock, and then all hell broke loose because a piece of the stock while I was doing that just chipped right off. So I knew that At that point, I wasn't going to preserve the stock. And once I realized that that was not going to happen, I just simply broke out the saw, and that's where I just sawed this stock right off, because I was thinking, you know what, at this point I need to drill out the center here so that way I can relieve some of the pressure and just break it out. After I sawed it off, it still would not budge even a little bit, and I slowly started to get in there with a Dremel and a drill, just trying to make as many relief cuts as humanly possible in order to get this thing to just kind of budge enough that I could relieve some of the tension and pry the stock out. Finally, after about 20 to 30, maybe even 45 minutes of working at this stock slowly but surely and not damaging the receiver itself, I hit it a few times with a flathead and a mallet once again, and this thing just popped right out, and that was all she wrote. I didn't see anything in here that indicated that this stock was, for whatever reason, massively stuck in the receiver. The only thing that I could think of is that they had to hammer the stock into the receiver, and for whatever reason, the receiver heated up that first range day and kind of form-fit that plastic to the inside of the receiver. But to add insult to injury to an already very annoying and frustrating stock to shoot at the range, of course, it had to nail me one more time and not allow me to easily remove the stock so I could just simply throw it out. As frustrating as that is, I just had to tell you guys what happened with that one. But of course, after we got the stock out, you guys can see that I added this awesome looking Russian redwood style furniture, and then also the lower handguard is the redwood style as well. This style is going to be a lot lighter than usual, and that's because the chemicals that are used with the refinishing of this type of wood causes kind of this weird funky reaction that gives it this really vibrant red color. And that is normal to see in this style of furniture. Now, the one thing that I will say is that no matter what I do, it just looks pink on camera. So I don't know how to show you guys really the true color that this is. You guys will probably see in a lot of the back roll footage at the range itself that it has a much more darker red appearance, and that's really how it looks in person. But for whatever reason, on camera, especially with all the softbox white lights, it just makes it bounce and have this really like high visibility red or pink coloring. And you know what? It doesn't even matter at this point, because honestly, even if it is pink, I don't even care, because this is so much better than the plastic furniture that was on there. I also want to note briefly, touching on this furniture, that the AK market as far as aftermarket furniture is horrendous right now. You will absolutely be paying a premium for anything that is not just standard Magpul furniture, and honestly, the Magpul furniture is even hard to find right now. If you are looking to upgrade your WASR or whatever other rifle that you have in the collection that is an AK, just understand that you're going to be looking far and wide for different aftermarket furniture options, and you're probably going to be paying a premium for that. Aside from the furniture, which I think personally looks awesome with this mixture of kind of practical and old school with the wood and the different accessories that I've added, I actually threw on the US Palm AK grip. You guys know by now that the US Palm AK grip is by far my favorite grip that's out there on the market for AKs. Just fills the hand so well, and it doesn't look too bad either, in my opinion. These grips are still around, still super affordable. They're only like 19 bucks, and again, probably my absolute favorite grip that's out there on the market right now. For the sling, I threw on the Vickers Blue Force Gear black multicam sling. The sling looks awesome on this setup, and because it has the black multicam, it kind of mixes with the whole style of the rifle and is also super practical as well. You guys can see that I'm mounting it on just the standard sling loop on this stock, and I'm wrapping it around my pistol grip, very similar to that trick that's out there for ARs where you wrap the sling around the pistol grip, and it worked out really well for this rifle. You can still use the rifle every way that you normally would, and your sling is out of the way and tight against the rifle. In the front of the sling loop here, I am still rocking the HK style clip on the end of the Vickers Blue Force Gear sling. The only downfall with running with this clip style is you guys can see underneath there that you are going to kind of wear on whatever furniture that you are rocking on the lower handguard. And then of course, like any other typical upgrade that I've made to a lot of my practical AKs, I have added the Ultimac rail. This is the Ultimac M1B rail, their standard non-vented gas tube rail. And I've gone with a Vortex Crossfire 2 red dot. This is the new Crossfire 2, so this one actually has 50,000 hours of battery life and still has the small, crisp 2 MOA dot. And then I also went with the Daniel Defense 1-inch offset light mount, and of course the Streamlight Polytac 1-inch light. This is the Polytac that is 600 lumens and rechargeable, and this is the setup I most definitely prefer on my AKs. You guys will remember me mentioning in a lot of other reviews I've done with this Daniel Defense mount that a lot of other folks on Amazon or whatever commented that their Daniel mount was a little bit wiggly even after they tightened down the screw as much as humanly possible. And of course, I ate my words a little bit in that video. I talked about how I had 3 different ones and I've never experienced that happening. They've all stayed super tight. With this 4th one that I've picked up, I am experiencing somewhat of that problem. So I spoke a little bit too soon. When I got this, it was really tight and I brought it to the range and all of a sudden my whole light mount was a little bit loose. You guys can hear and probably see just ever so slightly a little bit of movement. I can feel the movement, but I don't know that I can really show you guys that on camera. The screw is as tight as I could possibly get it. I felt like I was absolutely about to strip it out or just start kind of torquing my screwdriver a little bit too much that it was going to start bending. That's how hard I was torquing on that screw, and still it has just a little bit of wobble. So I'm going to try to work on this just a little bit more. Maybe I can get a longer flathead or something like that that I can get a little bit more leverage on and just give it one more crank and it should be a little bit tighter. But that could also be an issue of the Ultimac as well. On all my other Ultimacs, this ran fine, but that doesn't mean that this one is just ever so slightly out of spec and causing just a few issues with the overall setup. Aside from it being a little bit wobbly, this thing still holds tight and it's very easy to depress my white light on the AK. I still think that on an AK, this is one of the most practical ways to go to mount a flashlight without any sort of pressure pads or anything like that. You're not working with a lot of rail space here. The Ultimac rail, that's going to help out, and then also RS Regulate offers a small, non-obtrusive rail option that clamps right on the side of the barrel. That always works out well too. This Ultimac rail definitely gets hot, so you're going to see really quickly how optics do on this rail in particular. And of course, this optic did just fine. No issues at all there. And it was a very easy sight in because the Ultimac rail gets it so low that you can easily co-witness with your sights. So you just quickly line up the optics similar to how you'd be sighting it in on a standard AR-15 with backup sights. And this thing was right on target at the range. Speaking of at the range, this rifle shot incredibly well with all of these different upgrades that I made to it. The only thing that I will say is this stock has somewhat of a short length of pull, which is typical on a lot of different AKs out there. And unfortunately, if you are even somebody that has a normal arm length, it is going to give you a little bit of cheek slap just because of how short that length of pull is. It's a little bit tough to pull all the way into your shoulder like you normally would. So no matter what, I was getting just a tiny bit of cheek slap up here and it was kind of pinching my cheek and causing just a tiny bit of actually some bruising while I was shooting it. Not the end of the world, something that you can definitely get used to. It's going to take just a little bit more training with this exact rifle to kind of get away from that. The wood furniture held up great at the range. Of course, like usual, the weather was horrible and it was really downpouring when I was shooting this rifle, and still the wood held up great. With the finish on it, I didn't really have to worry about the water really seeping into the wood or anything like that. The Ultimac rail stayed tight. I didn't have to worry about it getting super hot because it was raining, but the one thing to be aware of when you're going with a wood lower handguard in the Ultimac is you guys can see there's absolutely no protection from the wood to the Ultimac itself. So on a very hot day, you're definitely going to want to have some gloves on because that is going to get hot quickly and your hands just kind of are right on top of it. So have some gloves on or just kind of hold on the lower portion of the wood handguard and you should be just fine. This thing shot great, no issues at all, and it was a lot more shootable and a lot more practical, and it looked a lot better without that crappy plastic furniture sticker that Century puts on it from the factory. I did experience some very, very odd QC issues out of the Tula ammo that I had at the range. I mentioned this in a previous live stream, and actually about half of the ammunition that I had in 40-round boxes came out of the box with cracked necks on the casings. Now, unfortunately, I did not think to take any pictures of that. I don't know why. I put it all in a separate box, and then when I really was looking around at it, I realized that obviously, if that's in the chamber, even if it's cracked, it's probably not going to lend to any catastrophic issues. I still would not recommend doing this, but I did put it all into a separate magazine, and this gun actually shot it all without issues. If you ever have a crack on the bottom of your casing, that is definitely not safe. A little bit on the neck, not the end of the world, but I definitely think with all of this stuff going on here in 2021 with ammo availability problems and everything like that, these companies are pushing this stuff out, and you are going to see probably a lot more QC issues than usual. That is going to wrap up this video on the WASR-10 V2 and the upgrades that I made to it. Let me know if you have any questions about this rifle in particular or anything else on the channel down in the comment section below, and you guys know I absolutely will get back to you. While you're down there, head up to the description and check out the links to the Firearm Freedom Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram account. I have daily content coming out on all three of those platforms that you guys are not going to want to miss. As always, thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for more great videos to come soon.